In a financial industry, an agentic AI is being used to develop a use case which is going to act as an assistant for wealth management advisor. Agentic AI in wealth management raises critical governance challenges around accountability, regulatory compliance, and explainability as autonomous multi-agent decisions are difficult to audit and attribute. Client data privacy, hallucination risk, and model bias further compound the challenge, demanding strict action boundaries, human oversight checkpoints, and a robust AI governance framework to ensure safe and compliant deployment. Now let's start looking into the use case on watsonx governance. watsonx governance lets finance industry to maintain an inventory of different use cases that are getting developed across the organization, the inventory of models, foundational models, agents, tools, and their deployments on a single platform. Now let's look at the use case about wealth management advisor with the help of agentic AI. Now, financial industry has many regulations to be applied, to be enforced. In any financial industry, there are various processes that gets followed before any AI use case pushed to production. And these different processes are very specific to individual organization. As a part of this process, for wealth manager with agentic AI, it has gone through risk identification assessment and regulatory applicability assessment, which identifies the potential risk that can encounter for this use case, the regulations that are applicable for this use case, and then it identifies the obligations and attaches them to use case, which are to be followed by the entire use case development team. Once all this is populated, it is reviewed by different stakeholders, and then use case becomes ready for the development. The use case is onboarded by gathering all the requirements and all the information associated with it. Then it has gone through a risk identification assessment based on which an overall risk level is identified as medium. And these are the risks that have been identified that are probable to occur for this use case when it goes to production. And these are the controls that have been added to address these risks. Now, the risk team has reviewed these risks and they have identified the inherent and residual risk ratings for this. After that, it has also gone through an applicability assessment from regulation standpoint. And based on that, it has identified that the organization has decided to follow all the compliance requirements associated with an EU AI Act. And as per EU AI Act, this use case is identified as high risk use case. Aligning to that, 55 obligations, which are from high risk compliance requirements for EU AI Act, have been attached to this use case. So the expectation is that all these obligations and requirements have to be addressed and evidences have to be provided for all these obligations. This assessment will most likely to be executed when the use case is ready for the production deployment. After this, a review has been done by the CTO group of team, an ethical team of a financial industry, and they have provided an approval for this use case and given a go-ahead for the development to begin. Now, development tool uses Bob to develop this use case. Now let's register all the agents and tools which are developed for this use case against the use case created in Open Pages. So the registration is done and all these 4 agents and 9 tools are added into watsonx governance against this use case. So let's refresh it and see it here. So these 4 agents and these 9 tools are added over here, which are developed by the development team for this use case.
The agents which are developed using Code Assistant tool are imported and deployed onto watsonx orchestrate. So these are the 4 agents: wealth manager, supervisor, portfolio report agent, track policy agent, and email generation agent are developed to implement the wealth management advisor use case, along with these 11 tools which are being used by these 4 agents. Now these agents are also deployed for the end users consumption. So this is the agent which is being used by the wealth management advisor along with the other agents to run portfolio analysis for its customers, fetch the investment data, generate a recommendation for investments, generate email communication with the end customers, and so on. Now, as we understand, it is very important to observe how the agents are performing continuously when they are running into live environment. watsonx Orchestrate provides an observability or capability where these agents can be continuously monitored and observed. These not only monitor it for various performance metric, but it also monitors agents for various guardrails that are configured for it to monitor as per the controls suggested and recommended on watsonx or governance platform. So this is an overall dashboard which gives a view of how the agents are performing, how the agents are generating messages, how the tools are getting invoked, how accurately they are getting invoked. Now here there are breach that can happen based on the threshold values. So as you can see, for the guardrails, there are these 2 incidences where the values for the guardrails were very high. So if you look at this incidence where the input hap is hit abusive profanity was very high, and when you click on it, it will also give you the messages which has caused that particular high value. This will help the ops engineers to understand how the application is being used, debug such incidences, notify relevant users, and so on. Now these alerts are not only visible on watsonx Orchestrate, but they are also penetrated to watsonx Governance as well. Now the agents which are deployed on Orchestrate are already registered into Governance. All the performance data of these agents from Orchestrate is penetrated back to watsonx Governance. So as you can see, these are the metrics which we just saw were getting measured on Orchestrate, and this was a particular metric which caused the breach to happen at a particular time. Further to this, we can also raise an incident for such breaches that happens related to performance and so on. Now as the use case is getting deployed into production, it also goes through an compliance assessment, gathering all the evidences for the obligations that were added initially at the beginning of development of use case. So the development team has provided evidences, and based on that, out of 55 obligations requirements that have added as per EU Act, 51 are met, 3 are not met, and 1 is under process to be determined. These will provide evidences that this use case will stay compliant. All the risks that have been identified, the controls that have been added are also enforced as the development is being done. As we just saw, the guardrails that are configured for continuous monitoring on all these agents that are just developed for this particular use case. So this entire flow which is configured on watsonx Governance makes sure that this agentic use case which is going to be put into production will remain risk-free, compliant, and performant throughout its life cycle. At the end, the dashboard functionality that you see just here provides an entire view of the system for different end users, for risk team, for compliance team, for development team, for CXOs, and so on. So this is a specific dashboard to show the agent related data in terms of how the agents are performing, where they are in their life cycle, their category, and so on. So this way, watsonx governance acts as an entire package to implement AI governance, not just for your simple AI use cases, but also generative AI and agentic AI use cases as well.